Okay. All right, today we're talking about subtracting integers, okay? So, I think the last video we were talking about adding integers, adding positive and negative numbers, positive and negative values, and what that means, okay? When we're subtracting them, there's it's definitely different, okay? So let's talk about that. Couple different rules, right? We have what's called the additive inverse, okay? Instead of saying 2 minus 3, we can say 2 plus negative 3, right? So just to read the example, when a number and its opposite are added, the sum is 0. That's called a zero pair. 2 plus negative 2, negative 3 plus 3, right? And this allows us to rewrite problems involving subtraction as addition problems. So again, instead of saying 2 minus 3, which we can still find the same answer for, we can rewrite it as 2 plus negative 3, okay? The reason why I have these plus and negative signs right here, these little symbols, is to kind of just say, for our zero pairs, right, they can cancel each other out. Actually, I'll just use an eraser. So, negative, positive, cancels each other out. Negative, positive, cancels each other out. What's left? A negative. How many? 1. Okay? So that's one way where we can come up with that answer. We also have, when we are subtracting integers, we have the ability to rewrite the problem to add the opposite. And then all we do is follow the same rules that we followed when we added the integers, okay? So here, we can rewrite negative 5 plus negative 5 minus 9 as negative 5 plus negative 9. We'll still come up with the same result, but that's just a way where we can maybe rewrite it and it becomes a little bit easier to see. I spent $5 and I spent another $5, or $9 rather, therefore I spent a total of $14. Okay? When we get to problems like B, this is where we kind of change it, okay? So, we have 8 minus negative 3. Well, we can't do that. So what we're gonna do is rewrite the problem to add the opposite, okay? So what do? Couple of things. We're gonna rewrite the problem to add the opposite, okay? So now instead of 8 minus negative 3, it's gonna be 8 plus 3. And we can rewrite that as 8 plus 3, which is gonna give us a positive value of 11, okay? We'll do the same thing with C. C says 2 minus negative 10. We can't do that. Yeah, we can do this, but we can't do this. So, when that happens, we take our minus negative and we plus the inverse. Inverse just means opposite. So the opposite of a negative number is obviously going to be a positive. Okay? So in this case, 2 plus 10 or 10 plus 2, or in terms of rewriting it, 2 plus 10 will give us that positive value of 12. All right, D is a slightly different. We're going to follow the same rules. The only difference is instead of positive 2 or positive 8, we're starting with a negative value. So we have negative 13 minus negative 7. Again, we cannot do that. We must add the inverse, the opposite of negative 7, which is positive 7. So again, you're going to constantly hear me talk about money. Here, I can rewrite this as negative 13 plus 7. So let's say you owed your bank $13, but you paid your bank $7. You still owe them money, just not as much, right? So instead of owing them $13, because you made a deposit of 7, you now only owe them sorry, 8. That's still not right. $6, my bad. $6. Okay? Now that's gonna bring us to some of these examples here. Okay? The good thing is we have a lot of different things, right? So we can rewrite 9 minus 6 as 9 plus negative 6. We don't have to do that. We can just solve. So 9 minus 6 will give us that 3. Seven minus 4, again, we can rewrite as, or 4 minus 7, we can rewrite as 4 plus negative 7. But just think about it. You have $4 in your bank account, but you spent 7. That means you still owe your bank $3. Now, the next one we have negative 7 minus 12, okay? That's perfectly fine. Again, you can rewrite that as negative 7 plus negative 12. All that's saying is that you spent $7 one day and another $12 later. Okay, 7 and 12 is going to be 19, but because they both have negative values, it's going to be negative 19. Our next example, we get to kind of change that sign. 7 minus negative 3, we can't minus a negative, so we add the inverse. 7 plus 3 gives us positive 10. 1 minus negative 9, we're going to add the inverse. 1 plus 9 will give you 10. For our next one, we have 2. So you have $2 in your bank account, but you spent $6, okay? Or you borrowed $6, but you only paid back 2. Do you still owe? Yeah. How much do you owe? $4. Okay, this next one is similar to what our answer here in terms of how we found it. Negative 11 minus 5, negative 11 plus negative 5, it doesn't matter. You spent $11 and then you spent $5 more. That means you spent a total of $16. Negative 5 minus negative 8. Here we go, we get to add the inverse. So now we have negative 5 plus 8. Okay, you were negative $5 in your bank account. Somebody cash apped you $8. Woo! You are now a positive $3 into your account. 11 minus negative 5 again. You can't do this, so you add the inverse. So now you have 11 plus 5, which gives you a positive 16. Negative 6 minus negative 8. You add the inverse. Negative 6 plus 8. So you owed your bank $6 and then you got a deposit for $8. Remember, deposit means positive. So that means you owed $6 and then you had a positive value of $8 in there, but you still have to account for the minus $6 that you owe. You are left with $2. And that's it. That's how we subtract integers. Keep in mind that anytime you subtract a negative number like that, you can rewrite the problem and add the opposite.